Okay, it's 8:30. Let's get going. It's a beautiful summer day, and I'm glad that you showed up. It's a light crowd today, but we can still get some work done and maybe get out of here early. I'd like to start with an update from the Select Board, and the first thing is we had a few of the members of the Select Board, some members of the MCI Advisory Board, some members of town staff had a tour of the MCI prison last week. I think it was last Friday. God, time's flying. Last Friday, each one of us had some really great impressions as we came out of that. My impression was that, first of all, a lot of that facility is underground, which I didn't realize. So what you see is you see, but then there's a lot underground. The other thing I learned is that DOC is going to take at least a year to walk through and see what can they salvage for use at other prison facilities within the state. So for at least a year, the town doesn't have to worry about, security or mowing or maintenance or anything like that. So for at least a year, they're going to still be there. What else? We also did a tour around the facility. We walked around the facility, and my impression of that, we walked around that entire facility. It took about 10 minutes. And so it's a lot smaller than I thought. I mean, that was just my impression. It's not as big. It's only 50 acres or 56 acres, I think. So that was my, we think, we can do all this stuff there, but it's not that big. The other thing, I just wanted to give you a little bit update on some of the legislation, particularly as it applies to MCI. As you know, the governor's budget is on her desk. She's reviewing it. She's got 10 days. By July 29th, she will review it. Within that budget, there are two provisions for money directed towards MCI. One is $250,000 that apparently is directed towards state agencies like DCAM, and another $475,000 that is directed directly to the town of Concord to spend. That money will be available to us for a year. We're still working on, do we have to spend that all in a year, or can we commit it without having to spend it within that year? So that's the work that we still have ahead of us as far as that goes. Anything else I want to say about MCI? I want to give you a little bit update on other things that are happening at the legislation. You might be aware that the governor introduced this bill called the Municipal Empowerment Act that would enable local communities to raise excise tax and impose a higher meals and lodging tax at local discretion. That is still in committee. The committees have voted favorably, but it's still hung up. So again, things are moving so fast right now as far as legislation goes that this update that I got yesterday is probably going to is already out of date, right? So, but that's, I guess the good news is that's still in play. So there's a possibility that will happen. We are getting $1 million for the Concord Housing Authority to improve the septic on Bedford Road, which will enable us to have more affordable units there. That's good news. That's still in there. And everything else is so much in play that I'm not even going to. There's another thing that has a very small amount of money for the 250th to be shared by 4 towns. It's $325,000, and I would say that's kind of on life support right now. The other thing I wanted to say from the Select Board's point of view, we also have a tour scheduled for the 2229 Main Street site in September. So we'll be touring the site, get a better feel, talk to the people that are doing the remediation. And as you know, the task force is coming to us in October, and at that point we'll decide next steps. I wanted to also alert you to the fact that we're scheduling some ethics training here for all committee members in the end of September. I know many of us have taken the online course for conflict of interest, and I don't know about you, but I do it, but I don't come away feeling like I really got it. So we're bringing people in that are apparently much better at making it clearer to us. So they'll be here at the end of September, final date to be determined. We're scheduling forums in September.
Is that going to be open to all committee chairs and people like that?
Yes.
And committee members.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be Zoom. It's going to be here in person, and so it's a hybrid meeting.
Good.
And I heard that the instructor is very good, so he makes it intelligible, so that's good. The other forums we have coming up are in September or October. We'll be having a forum on the residential tax exemption and capital plans. And then finally, the Select Board, the School Committee, and the Finance Committee are in the process of having a joint meeting on August 19th. So that was one of the Select Board's goals, and we're happy to look forward to having a conversation with them. That's about all I have for report. I mean, there's a lot going on, but I tried to just hit the things that I thought you'd find interesting. I am going to start going around the room. I know, Isabel, you've got to leave early. Do you want to go first?
Thank you.
Okay.
Most important for summer is the Pollinator Health Advisory Committee, and, sorry.
Maybe being recorded and I don't know. if
Okay,
people
thank you.
can hear you.
Right. So Pollinator Advisory Health Committee. And we're in need of new members, obviously, always happens. But I think the big thing is Riverfest has really highlighted our biodiversity needs. If you've had an opportunity to attend any of them, it ends this weekend, but there's some wonderful events being offered. So please look up Riverfest. And I think the big thing that a goal for this next year is to partner better with town departments, not so much the conservation department, which is very busy with all of our conservation land, but with other private and municipal programs to increase our biodiversity. The invasive plants have really taken over, and some are actually, new ones are emerging. And so we really need to tap that down. The deer don't eat those. They eat only the healthy biodiversity plants. And Minuteman National Park, which really is, I consider, part of Concord, is really working on their invasive removal. And this is really, I admire that, because the river brings in a lot of invasives, and also we just don't remove them. So we need to work on that. And I think that's all I have to report on. Any questions?
No, this is really just a report out. It's not a conversation, so thank you, Isabel. I'm going to go this way. Diane, you want to go?
Diane Proctor, I'm here for the 250 committee. I'm your cheerleader this morning to say, wherever you go and to everyone with whom you speak in Concord, please ask them to hold the evening of August 11th on their calendars. Mention it to your committee members, please. Do everything you can, because we're having a big picnic at the Concord Museum, which will be open all day that day for free, because they house the original Paul Revere lantern. So it's pretty remarkable artifact for a town like ours to have, and it's central to the celebration of everything that's going forward. So in an effort to try to determine, all right, how do we make this iconic, we chose 250 days before the 250th. So when you count backwards, we get to August 12th. But August 12th is a Monday, so we did it on August 11th on a Sunday. So it'll really be 251 days, but don't tell anyone. Okay, but it'll be a big picnic. There's going to be I didn't know there were such things as wine trucks, but there are. Barbecue trucks, opportunities for people to just bring their own picnics. We'll have beach balls for people to play with. We'll have cornhole toss. We'll have face painting. The fife and drum people will be playing. Characters of various kinds will be marching around. An opportunity for children and families to make their own version of a lantern, a paper lantern, on some really nice hardstock paper. Will be also available so that people can then, we'll put little glow sticks in the lanterns, and we're going to march these lanterns from, and it's not like they're like this big, I mean, they're little lanterns, but we'll march them from the museum to Monument Square, where we will be greeted by Simon Catalda and maybe Mike Barrett, where Mike is a little busy right now, but I'm sure he'll get back to us pretty soon. The other luminaries have chosen not to participate. They've each been asked in very personal ways, but the only two to stand up are Carmen Gentile and Simon Catalda. I suspect Mike will say yes. He's just buried in legislative initiatives right now. So we're meeting this morning, later on this morning, to try to see if there is not someone else who might be willing to come out and kind of highlight the event. I gather Governor Healy and/or a major member of her group is still in play, but we'll hear about that, I suspect, within the next week. But that's not what matters. What matters is that we're there as a community to celebrate and engage and enjoy this whole coming celebration on April 19th. And if you all were like me, you memorized that poem on the 18th of April, 75, Hardly a Man is Now Alive. So if you can do that whole poem, I mean, that's pretty terrific, but you will know the date that the big celebration will actually take place. Lots will lead up to it. The Bridge will have on its back page an entire advertisement for this event, which will give people a chance on which to focus, and lots of camps in town. The Thoreau Club, the recreation, and the umbrella campers will be making these lanterns the week before. There will also be copies of the template at the various libraries that people can pick up. So send people to make these lanterns, urge them to come to the picnic. We'd love it to be a robust and fantastic event.
What time does it start, Diane?
5:30 to 7:30.
5:30, thank you. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Any questions?
No questions. No question, no, this is a report out, it's not a
I
discussion.
just want to say if there were
I
any
know.
questions. Yeah.
Julie?
We're the
Yeah,
one behind,
go
okay.
ahead. I'll wait.
I'm Julie Viola. I'm the regional school committee chair. I just came on about 2 months ago, so still drinking from the fire hose. But I think, well, for starters, I will be there on August 11th with my family. We're very excited about it. My son marched in the Patriots Day parade with Simon's son, and they had a lot of fun. But I think just to start off, again, 2 months in, I would be remiss to say I'm very thankful for Eric and Mary. We've had a great collaborative start. Our hope is to continue that. I think we can be really, really productive this year. I'm excited by that. This week we are focusing on policy, so myself, Carrie Rankin, and Lori Hunter, and one other member, Cynthia Rainey. We are working with MASC on updating all of our policies. If you can believe it, we are taking A through I, and it's a stack about this big. So it takes some time, but really important work. That's what we're cramming about 9 hours of work in this week. So I'll be joining them shortly. We successfully negotiated the teacher contracts and a couple other unions recently. So that was one of the things that we came in, myself and Brian Watterson, fresh from Carlisle. And now we're really in the throes of preparing for budget planning. So as Mary mentioned, we're going to focus on that on August 19th. And then I think just the last important topic is, obviously there's a tremendous amount of work that people see in open meeting, but we have our subcommittees as well, which also take place, but a lot of work that happens to keep everything moving. So we've just started to separate out who's going to CPAC, so our special education, liaisons to the finance committee in both towns, the Thoreau Playground Committee. So we've started to do those subcommittee work. So the policy one was just actually established in our last meeting. So we've gotten to work. So the summer is busy, but a lot of really, really exciting work. And we're looking forward to school getting started in less than a month now.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
about. So that's a quick update, but
Thank you, Julie.
you're welcome.
Lee, you want to go? We'll go around the table.
Hi, Lee Smith. I'm chair of the Concord Housing Development Corporation, or CHDC. Happy to report that our biggest news is that we awarded a project to build 3 new single-family homes to Habitat for Humanity, and that project is on Old Marlborough Road, right short, I guess depending on which direction you're coming from, of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail intersection. And that combined with the conversion of 2 existing units, there'll be 5 affordable homes there. The 2 existing units are going to go to the Concord Housing Authority. So we're about to start on all the legal documentation to make that happen. And best case scenario, break ground this calendar year, but definitely by spring of next year. Thanks. We're also working with Keith Bergman's Affordable Housing Trust on funding that, as well as our small grant program for smaller home improvements for people who qualify for that. And as you probably know, the Junction Village project remains on hold indefinitely because it abuts the MCI Concord land, and we want to see if that makes sense to integrate into the larger master planning effort of that project. Well, I think that's it.
Great. Do you want to say anything about the MCI Advisory Board, Lee, that I missed?
So I serve on the MCI Advisory Board because of my role on CHDC. I think maybe just the town is also looking closely at the wastewater treatment plant.
That's right.
That'll be under the current legislation that's going to be offered to the town for purchase within the next month,
30 days.
pretty soon. So that'll probably be the first big ticket item.
It'll be the first big, yeah.
And the committee's met probably 4 times or so, and we're still getting organized and deciding what needs to be done and how to break up the large volume of work into subcommittees. But it's a really strong group, so the town should be proud of the talent it has available to work on that and figure out what the town's recommendations are going to be for that site ultimately.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, thanks for bringing up the wastewater treatment plant. Within 30 days of the governor signing the bill, they have to make an offer, but we have 180 days to accept it. And even with our conversations with DCAM, that 180 days has some fluidity with it. So it's not as, we have to start talking seriously about it and understand it, but I don't want to think we've got to decide in 30 days. It's a lot, we have longer than that. But yeah, we're in active conversations with them. Good, thank you. Yeah, Pat.
Thank you. I'm Pat Nelson. I'm the co-chair of the Middle School Building Committee. And it's really interesting that we've been able to meet all throughout the summer. We keep getting a full quorum. I think that shows the dedication of this committee over these many, many years that we've been doing this middle school. And if you drive by, you will see it moving closer and closer to completion. We did have some really good news. We had voted at one meeting to go into our contingency funds for FF&E and technology. When we got the final bids for the FF&E and the technology, they weren't quite as much as we expected, so we will still be going into contingency, but it's about $200,000 less than we expected, which is a nice bonus. The project is more than 50% complete for phase 1, and we have 70% less left in our hard and soft cost contingency. So for those of you who are around for hammering out this budget over the last couple of years, I think that with everybody's contributions around making sure we have plenty of contingency and making sure we have a budget that will build the best building and the best school, that is happening. The other thing I just wanted to mention is, yes, we do now have a little more money in our contingency than we expected. Lori gave us a kind of a heads up that there were things that were taken out of the budget during the work that we did to get a budget to town meeting, most in the music department. So there may be some things that come up that we want to try to put back in the budget, just to give folks a heads up. And that's it.
Thank you. Eric, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Eric Dahlberg from the Finance Committee. We focused on our guideline setting process for the year. Our guideline is that one number that we bring to the budget process and that we all hear about at town meeting. We have aligned on a timeline and the steps in the process for getting there. The timeline, I'd say the timeline was probably my biggest surprise in this role. It's like a puzzle trying to get the dates right. We don't want it to be too early. We don't want it to be too late. And we worked collaboratively with the select board to align there. So thank you, Mary, for your collaboration on that. And just yesterday, we sent out heads up style communications to the school districts, to the town, and to the Minuteman High School, informing them of next steps and the timeline for those next steps. So our guideline process is underway. The other update I'll share is the finance department here in town has contracted with the Collins Center for Public Management at UMass to conduct a review of our financial policies and procedures here in town. And as part of their work, they've been interviewing stakeholders on boards and committees in town and leadership roles. And I had a chance to meet with them last week, and it was really, really interesting. As you can imagine, most of the conversation was focused on the guideline process, what the steps look like. I don't know what their timeline is for producing a report, but I'm super interested to see it. The summary, and especially their recommendations, any recommendations they may have for enhancements to the process. So be on the lookout for that.
Great, thank you. Sven?
Yes, Sven Weber, Public Works Commission. Well, it's the summer months, which means road construction. So I think
We hadn't noticed.
probably noticed this morning here. So I think the most prominent one is Walden and Maine, the crossing. So I don't know if you're aware is that the first contractor bailed out, so we attached it to another contractor who is supposed to do then also the whole Main Street.
Wow.
So, depending on the timing of that crossing, the next step would do the long stretch of Main Street, hopefully still this summer. So there will be some significant impact on traffic here in town, but we all know in what condition Main Street is, and it's time to get stuff fixed here. So that keeps them busy. The other one is we hired again someone on the stormwater side. We lost a person earlier in the year, which is important for us to say go on the stormwater concept to the next level, to map that out. And then the last little highlight, we have a lot, but let's focus on one more, is that the intake on Nagog Pond is up and running again after we were down for 2 years. That is a significant improvement for us. It is at the flow level as it used to be. That's not where we want to have it for the long-term side, but at least we have access to that water again, which helps for the summer months. We only dig into Nagog Pond in summer, and then use the wells during the rest of the year. This is where we are.
Great, thank you. Keith?
Keith Berkman, Chair of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. First, I want to thank Mary for inviting the trust to give an update to the Select Board this week, and that update is available online. Big picture for the trust is since town meeting started setting money aside for us in 2019, that we've received a total of $4.6 million in the trust fund. Of that, we've either committed or invited a total of $3.1 million for projects, which would leave us with an uncommitted balance of $1.5 million. And that and as Lee mentioned, we've just invited the CHDC to apply for another $1 million for the Assabet River Bluff project, which we'll be voting on next month when we receive the application. That would bring the total cost for Assabet to $2.5 million for those 5 affordable units. So we're very excited to see that project go forward. Also appreciate that CHDC is looking to explore the 1.4 acre surplus state property at 91B Main Street, beginning with a feasibility study. The town has made overtures to the state of what are the steps we need to do to acquire the property for less than market value, and having a plan, having a well thought out plan for how to reuse it is step one. So appreciate CHDC stepping up on that. We're planning for an August Concord Housing Roundtable when all of the 4 groups with housing in their name, plus the Select Board, the Planning Board, and the Community Preservation Committee get together quarterly to talk about implementing the housing production plan. And so we're looking forward to that. We'll hear about the Select Board's goals for this year relative to housing. We'll have a chance to update our list of priority projects that are in the queue for funding. We're going to need to explore or talk about future funding sources. Our fondest hope since 2019 has been that we might have state approval for a real estate transfer fee. Those hopes were dashed. This session, the governor proposed it. Neither the House nor the Senate adopted it, and we'll see where we go from there. And I think I will stop there.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks.
Thank you, Keith.
Keith, when is the Affordable Housing Roundtable?
We don't know
have a
yet.
date?
Yeah,
Just in August
August, the Regional Housing Services Office Director, Liz Rust, will be circulating proposed dates for the groups. So we don't, I'm guessing late August.
Okay.
And the reason we're doing that is the CPC deadline for even though town meeting is pushed back almost 2 months, the deadline, CPC's deadline for applications hasn't budged at all, and so those will be due in early September. So we will need to get together and strategize among the housing groups what we want to do. I'll give a preview though. For Diane is here. I think we've reached a consensus that the trust that among the housing groups, based on conversations that we had with the chair of the Housing Authority as well as Lee at CHDC and my board, I think we're going to apply for $740,000 in funds next year. That's $500,000 as we got this year, plus do $240,000 that was turned back from the Giroux property. We'd like to see that reused for housing. So, preview. Thanks.
Thank you, Keith. Teo.
Theo Kimmelmans, Chairman of the ZBA.
Teo, you need a mic. Yeah.
I don't know how to get it out.
Theo Kimmelmans, Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We continue to deal with our regular caseload, but of interest for, I think, for this entire group is the Forest Ridge 40B development. That's we're going to get an update tomorrow from the applicant. There's some changes in the plans, some changes in the unit numbers, some changes in the unit mix potentially that's being proposed. So we'll get an update there, and then they decided that they needed to file for a variance for their entranceway. The working group, there's a small working group for the ZBA, have seen some plans for that, and it is a much, much better solution than what was originally proposed. The issue is, can we make the legal argument and can we make it legally work? And that's what we're going to be discussing tomorrow and coming up with that. And it's as I said before, it's a bit of a different situation where it is a good solution, but it might not be, or it's actually the best solution, but it might actually legally be very tricky to accomplish. And you'll hear more.
Okay.
I mean, don't want to go too far here.
Okay.
Because I want to wait for the applicant to present tomorrow.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
But you know, we'll be working diligently to get the best project possible for the town and for the applicant.
Thank you, Teo.
Janet Miller, co-chair of the Climate Action Committee with Brad Hubbard Nelson. We're trying to focus on the built environment this year, lowering the, amount of greenhouse gas emissions. There's been an analysis of how much greenhouse gas emissions, how much they've lowered over the past few years, and they've lowered dramatically. It's 37% since 2017. That date may not be correct. But most of that is like the low-hanging fruit from CMLP, electricity. So buildings and transportation are the other two factors. One of the things we're looking into the possibility is having networked geothermal, which is a system that basically makes use of gas lines that are in existence. They no longer carry gas, but they can bring heat and cooling into the houses. And, you know, with a geothermal system, there's 2 pilot projects that are well, there's one in Framingham that I think is actually completed. There's another one in Lowell. So, you know, we're looking into that. Is there a possibility to do that in Concord? If so, where? Is it, you know, can we afford to do it? Things like that. The other thing to do with buildings is that I believe the Thoreau Club project has requested a waiver for the building code for no fossil fuels. As a committee, we oppose that. I can talk to you later. We also wrote a letter to the Department of Transportation in response to their analysis of what to do with the Route 2 corridor, which of course was written before anybody knew the prison was closed. But, you know, they want to widen it. They want to make it 3 lanes through Concord, which would make pedestrian and bicycle crossing worse. It also, road width increases, you know, there's induced demand. There'll just be more traffic. So it isn't really a solution. The report doesn't take into account any climate effects of transportation and doesn't briefly alludes to public transport, but really doesn't talk about it. And it would be much better to improve the rail service. For the Fitchburg line pretty well parallels the Route 2 so that it could carry some of the more of the traffic that currently goes on Route 2. I think that's it.
Thank you, Janet. Tiffany.
I'm Tiffany Upchinsky, and I'm here on behalf of the Economic Vitality Committee. And so a few updates we have is we're happy to announce that we're expanding some of our membership. We had a couple members roll off recently who heavily represented the business element of our committee. So we're excited to get members who round out our membership again. We'll be getting a member from the Chamber of Commerce, as well as Concord Business Partnership. So that's a really great win for us. We're also continuing to lean into one of our primary strategies, which is business engagement and recruitment efforts. And so we will have ready, hopefully at our next meeting, a draft survey that we plan on distributing primarily to retail restaurant businesses. And the goal there is to survey businesses on what they see as good fit businesses for vacancies that come up in Concord. And that way we can start to develop a bench of good fit businesses that we can either actively reach out to and say, hey, we have something open, are you interested? Or bring that bench to brokers who would be filling that space so we can be proactive in who we'd want to see fill a vacant space. So we're excited about that. And similarly, we are creating a communication strategy to reach out to businesses that are your more traditional offices so we can understand and assess their business needs as well. So really building a nice comprehensive picture of what our business community looks like right now, what their customer profiles look like, what their needs are, what they'd like to see in these commercial corridors where they exist. On the policy front, one effort that we have underway is we're really looking at sewer improvement fees with Public Works and how that's impacting some of our local businesses, as well as zoning rules for private parking for businesses. And finally, we are working with the 250th as well to understand what are some fundraising efforts that we can help drive in kind or otherwise, and other ways we can build business sponsorships to support that very important activity that we have coming up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name's Eric Moore. I'm the chair of the Town Meeting Study Committee, and we're pretty new, right? We started in late May. Our charter, in 3 words, is to make town meeting more inclusive, more effective, and more responsive to the needs of the will and needs of the town. We're really focusing on 4 areas right now. One is, I'll say, night of town meeting or nights of town meeting, in terms of how to make the town meeting experience more accessible, easier to get to, more appealing to come to, and make the whole experience more efficient. Second, communications leading up to town meeting. How can the communications, the warrant, the sort of the collateral information about articles and presentations, how can that information be distributed, I'll say, more effectively in terms of how the citizens are able to access that, understand it, sort of get an understanding of the issues underneath each article. Third is, I'll say, sort of the public administration perspective. We have jobs to be done at town meeting, and part of that is sort of the core function of democracy, and part of that is making sure that we vote on the necessary budget articles. So understanding again the jobs to be done at town meeting, from, in a way, our perspective, is a third piece. The fourth piece, and perhaps this is foundational, is the citizens' perspective, the experience of their experiences of being at town meeting, ours as well, their preferences in terms of what kind of experience they'd like to have. We'll have to look at clickers, for example. It's part of our charter, as it were. And so where we're at right now is we've been doing a lot of analysis. We expect to be doing data analysis over the next couple of months of both election participation and representation. We're designing a town-wide survey, and I'll be coming to you for that at some point. And we'll be planning some hearings and workshops this fall. I think a piece that we haven't really begun to engage yet, this committee is staffed with a former town manager, Keith Bergman, former select board chair, former FinCom chair. So the expertise and experience of public administration on this committee is really exceptional. And I think, that said, I think as a group we've yet to really engage with FinCom to understand FinCom's sort of reporting processes and the issues that you face in making recommendations to the town for town meeting. I think we'll engage more with the select board, and again, both in terms of, I think in terms of the communications function of your office in particular, and in terms of understanding the workflow of getting things out, the warrant out, getting all that out to town meeting. I think we'll talk about that as well in due course. I'd really welcome hearing from other chairs and from other committees about the communications challenges and engagement challenges that you face in the hearings process. Because you can think about it this way, that engagement upstream or non-engagement upstream can really play out in terms of how we have successes or defeats in terms of presenting our work before the town at town meeting. And so even though we're focused on this sort of culminating event of town meeting, what happens upstream can be material as well. And so we're really eager to engage in a broad way to help things work better. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Mark.
Hello, Mark Ailes, Chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee. So we met 3 times this month to make sure we could finalize and send in a comment letter to MassDOT in response to their posted Route 2 corridor study, Region 3 and 4. The letter is also the final letter is also posted on TAC's webpage at the bottom if people want to take a look at it. Some of the main things that we said in the letter are, number one, any changes to Route 2 should enhance rather than degrade the connectivity between the 2 parts of the town that are created, divided by Route 2. As Janet said, the widening, there's concern. We commented on a few particular high-level design examples of intersections and made some suggestions. And then also we pointed out 3 major omissions, some of which are kind of admitted in the study. Obviously, they didn't know about the MCI Concord change. There's nothing in the study new about the Rotary, which is a big problem. They put in a couple of things as a placeholder of old, couple of old studies or something. And also, again, going back to what Janet said about the Fitchburg line and all that, there's nothing about mode shift and the ability to get away from private motor vehicles as the main way that people get, say from Devens to Boston or whatever. That really needs to be looked at more comprehensively. And like I say, it's posted on the TAC webpage if people want to look at it down at the bottom under Route 2. One other thing I want to mention is that at our next meeting on August 1st, 9:30 hybrid, Kaiser Road and Zoom, I put on the agenda a discussion where we can try to brainstorm what are the best methods for us to communicate and collaborate with the various other committees that might have overlapping concerns, and also with various town departments that might have similar concerns or information. Because I think, personally, I think communication is one of the most important things we can do, and a lot of it happens in irregular ways, and sometimes if you try to make it regular, it makes so much demand on people's time that it detracts from other primary responsibilities. So it's something worth discussing. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to Zoom now. Wendy, I'm assuming you're observing, right? Oh.
Yes,
okay,
just
great.
observing.
Great, okay. And Randy Kring? Randy, do you have something to say? Okay, I guess not. What I'm hearing today is we've got a lot of work coming up in September, the end of August and September and October. A lot of people have things queued up, so let's enjoy the next few weeks and get ready for all that. Thank you for all the work you do. Thank you for coming here today. It's great. No, that's.
Oh,
Hi there. I'm sorry I was late to chime in there. So Randy Kring with the Board of Health. Things are going well in the health department. Just would like people to pay attention to ticks and mosquitoes. We're not in our area yet, but there's this time of year things tend to pop up with West Nile and Triple E. No cases yet, but would like people to pay attention to that and pay attention to ticks as well. We're seeing a fair bit of tick-borne illnesses around. The community needs assessment survey is coming together, and we'll be going out hopefully beginning of August. So if you can spread the word, there'll be packets or information about how to take it posted around. But we're trying to get a survey of the community of what the health needs of our community is. And then lastly, I'll say one of the things the board is looking at is our tobacco regulations. Last year, or the year before, Brookline passed a regulation called Tobacco-Free Generation that sets a birth date after which you are not allowed to purchase tobacco in the town. So I believe they set theirs for the year 2000. So anyone born after the year 2000 could not purchase tobacco in the town, and so it doesn't affect anyone who's currently using tobacco or already addicted to tobacco, but over time it phases out any tobacco users from the town. So that's something that we're considering and are excited about. So incorporating into our regulations. That's what I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you again for all the work you do. I'll see you next month.